Well, the South African Guild of Actors says it backs the 160,000 members of those two unions in the US. Jack Devnarain is the national chair of the South African Guild of Actors. Jack, good to see you. Thanks for your time. What's the case here? What happens when actors are working for a program that is then streamed and can be on a streaming service for years and years?
This is the so-called new model, and what streamers have liked to describe as the disruption to the entertainment industry. Because the manner in which streamers are generating an income now is not so much by licensing out the titles, the shows, the movies that they've created, but by attracting subscribers. So the way in which they generate an income as a streaming platform is to get in subscribers, and subscriber fees is what generates the income. And it's also what has become the bone of contention and pretty much the heart of what's going on in the actor union strike right now. Because the streaming platforms are saying, you as the actor cannot be paid a royalty from my subscription fees that I generate as an income.
So does that mean then that in South Africa right now, if someone works for a show that's being streamed, you get a once-off payment and that's it, nothing else, ever?
That's exactly right. And we must make a distinction here also, Stephen, because in the US, that industry is unionized and they have the right to engage in collective bargaining. So that means they do have a contract in place. It's a standard contract and it does permit royalties to be paid. In South Africa, not only are we not allowed to unionize, but as a consequence, we're not allowed to engage in collective bargaining. And to add insult on top of all that injury, we are not allowed to earn royalties either. So it really is, if you compare the two territories between South Africa and the US, we really are facing the perfect storm in South Africa.
So, Chish, I mean, you really are, it seems, in a very weak position. Why aren't you allowed to unionize? Is it just the nature of the industry? Is it a practical reason or is there a legal reason?
Legal, and you could say almost a bit of both as well, Stephen. The nature of the industry is such that I engage my services as a performer to many different producers. So I might be shooting a TV series in the day, and in the evening I might do some MC work, and I might also do some voiceover work in between. So I couldn't possibly be considered an employee for all those different engagements. But at the same time, we also have labor law that doesn't recognize freelancers in the Labor Relations Act. And as you know, it's the LRA that awards a person the right as an employee to engage in collective bargaining, to belong to a union. And because I'm a freelancer, I'm specifically excluded from the Labor Relations Act, which means I can't then form a union.
Sure. I imagine it might be quite difficult to change that. And even if every single actor in the country went on strike all at the same time, very hard to organize. But even then, you would probably have other people who decided this is their moment and that would break the power that you have.
Absolutely. And even if we decided not to engage our services for any producer, even that couldn't be considered a strike. That's what happens if you're not unionized. And yes, of course, it's the nature of the industry. There's someone prepared to do it for less. And that's just a reality of having producers and having broadcasters and streaming platforms. Basically, what they've done is to create a race to the bottom. So if you're prepared to deliver your performance for less than somebody else, effectively, you're creating a system, an entire economy where people are doing more for less.
In the meantime, in the shorter term, the strike in the United States, is that going to impact production, some of which will be filmed here? I would imagine, for example, in Cape Town, we know there's several productions that are filmed there. Some of them have become almost established. Is this going to have an impact on all of that, that economy that's growing there around this industry?
Yes, you have productions taking place on location in South Africa right now that are working off those SAG-AFTRA contracts. And as a result of the strike having been called in the US, it means even if that work is being conducted in a foreign country, like South Africa is for them, it means that work must be suspended as well. And that's been the case with a few productions. We may be hearing more in the next few days and weeks if there are any other productions to be impacted. And yes, it does have an impact on South African performers and support services as well. We are talking about the hair and makeup teams, the technical crew, people who do locations, admin work, and catering. Also, huge. That's a huge part of the economy that's going to be affected.
Sure. And the sort of longer-term future, I know that already when it comes to voiceovers, which you mentioned, for example, AI voices, computer voices, are doing some of those. Could we start to see that happening to actors as well? I mean, I don't know if one would tell the difference between AI and Tom Cruise, but I'm sure someone could.
The AI that is being created, used now, and being refined means that pretty soon you and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between each other. So it is a huge concern, and which is why the strike in the US is not just about a US strike. This is about the rights of creatives around the world, because AI is being used around the world. And it's not only the voiceover performers who are concerned. Yes, they do have a justifiable concern that they may be losing work to artificial intelligence. It's still a human voice that is being processed by some kind of software program and then regenerating that voice perhaps in another accent and to be used in another medium. So actors are right to be concerned about that. Writers are also very concerned because they are saying you're using artificial intelligence to write or to draft the original scripts, and then you're calling in only 2 or 3 writers to sit in for 1 or 2 days to correct and just try to refine the script that AI has created, which has resulted in a massive loss of writers' jobs. And perhaps the most egregious of all are proposals from the studios that are saying, we want to take a background actor and we want to capture their image. Using it in artificial intelligence means that we never have to pay them again. We simply have to pay them once off. That's their day rate. And we will be able to use their image and their likeness and their performance in any other medium in perpetuity and never owe them a cent again.
Sure, very scary. Jack Devnarain, thank you very much indeed, National Chair of the SA Guild of Actors. Not union, you notice, but